look at some of the cases where kids that have gone off and done some unbelievably horrible things, oftentimes it was because they had no rules at home. They were left to just do whatever. They were starving for attention. They never felt the Father's love. And so as a result, they did some extreme things. So how does this happen? How do we get to the point where we're provoking our children? Hypocrisy. Do as I say, not as I do. Favoritism, we see that through the Bible. If you start picking favorites with your kids, be ready for rebellion. It will happen. Too much discipline or no discipline. Unkept promises. Hot, cold approach to discipline. They never know which way you're coming. One day, you can break mom's plate and it's no big deal. The next day, you break mom's plate and you're grounded for 6 years. The punishment doesn't match the crime. I thought this was an excellent example. Shooting gnats with a cannon. All right. How often can we, in the moment, we can come up with a punishment or a disciplinary action because we're frustrated, we're angry, whatever the case may be, and we go too far. This is the point of having the Spirit guiding us. We do not respect God's laws. If we don't respect God's laws, don't expect your kids to. If we don't respect the laws in your community, in your government, don't expect your kids to. If you talk down about authority figures, if you talk down about your parents, don't expect your kids to talk real highly of you or authority figures. Making light of the problems, of their problems. I was reminded of this. Sometimes your kids bring problems to you and you're like, that's not a big deal. But to them, it's Mount Everest. It's the biggest thing going on in their life right now. Imagine if God would look at your problems that you bring to him as the God of the universe and say, that's not really a big deal. Why would I deal with that? Okay, yeah, you didn't get the promotion at work. Big deal. God is our perfect example. Be mindful to keep our kids from having wrath or resentment towards us. We need to take them seriously. Listen to them. If we're always blaming and never considering their part, listen to your kids. We had a rule in our house that if it was a matter that wasn't a biblical law, if you will, or a commandment, that if there was a ruling in our house that seemed unfair or was unjust or I didn't understand, my kids could bring a case, kind of like a judge, right? And they would bring the case. And I said, if you can bring a really good case to me, I'll consider it. Now, don't just come at me angry, because that's not going to get anything done. And if you come at me with, you just never, well, then that's going to kill the case, right? But if you come and say, hey, Dad, I know you said no, but I don't know if you know the whole story. Do you know what's actually going on? Like, no. Or could you consider it this way? Or what if we kind of conceded this part, but we went this direction? I wanted them making those decisions and having to work through and struggle through those things. But then at the same time, I also wanted to understand where they were coming from. Because I don't know about you, I've ate the tasty bird crow before, where I've made a decision and then I've regretted it, or made a statement and I'm thinking, oh no, if I had only known all the facts. As a manager in a company, I've made that mistake multiple times because you're just wanting to make decisions and get people moving. And then you realize, I should have really listened to the rest of the story. It's the same thing with our kids. Be mindful of those things. Because if you if you start shutting them down and if you just give them a solid no every time, you will find yourself with a rebellious child. Psychologists say that the number one leading cause for rebellion in children that they've noted has been the fact that they were just never heard. Or just always told rigidly no. Be mindful of the fact that if that is the pattern of their life, they may agree to things just to get you off your back or off their back. And unfortunately, that can mean their salvation too. They may just agree to say the prayer just so you'll stop asking. They need to know that it's okay to come to you with questions. They need to know that they can come to you and that you will not blow up or blame them. Things continuing here, the provoking, never trusting them, questioning their judgment always. They never make a good decision. Even when they try to do something, and if you question their judgment and you keep beating them, eventually they'll stop trying. I've seen so many kids that shut down, good kids. But they were just badgered so much that they just said, you know what, what's the point? I try and I try and try, and my parents never see it. They're smothering, or they start to compare them to other kids. All of those things will provoke. Fathers, this is tough. This is really difficult. And this is why we have to be so much in the Spirit. I mentioned hypocrisy. They say that is the largest thing that is killing our churches today because young people see hypocrisy in the adults. And as a result, they want nothing to do with that faith. We need to be so mindful of that. We are their earthly example. They are looking to us for guidance. They will imitate what we do. A few other things here, and then we'll close out. Consistency is the key. We need to establish base rules and stick with those set rules. This is something that I've struggled with because I'm forgetful. Full transparency. I'm forgetful. And so I'll make a rule and then I forget it. Again, I beat myself up a lot on this. It creates no balance and ultimately can create confusions and anger. Hear the child's case. We mentioned that. Pastor that we used to have, he said, for every no, there better be a yes. Your kids, especially as they get older, if you just say, no, no, and that's all they ever hear, eventually they just stop asking, they'll just start doing. Give them a good yes. Give them something that says, you know what? Hey, I told you couldn't go to this thing or go to this event or you hang out with these people, but why don't you hang out with these people instead? Or why don't you go do this? Or how about we go fishing? Okay? Give them a yes. Give them something, and this will build that relationship. No room for selfishness. Children are not belongings or goods. They're gifts. And they're only in our care for a short while. Martin Lloyd-Jones said, I know many people whose lives have been entirely ruined by selfish, possessive, domineering parents, and their whole life was lived for the parents. As a counselor, he goes, this is even more evident in our society where the kids are being given to others so that parents can enjoy their freedoms. I've read about that here recently where a lot of folks, the kids were getting too much in the way, so they sent them away. It was interfering with their nightlife and other things like that. Do your kids feel wanted? They want to feel wanted. We talked about the punishment doesn't fit the crime. Discipline can never be abusive. You cannot allow emotions to control your disciplinary actions, parents. We must have respect for the child. Just saying do it because I said so won't always work. When they get older, they need to wrestle through this. And you need to be there to help them wrestle through these things. They need to understand and work with and rationalize the whys of why do we do what we do? Why do we believe what we believe? Why is this right and this wrong? If you don't train them with this at home, based on God's design, which was fathers teach your sons so they will teach their sons, then the chain's broken, and then it's no surprise that one generation later you have a mess. Because they don't know what to teach. Because they never got it either. Let's see. Excuse me. We'll pick up there next week because we're running out of time. Hey, what do you know? That's all right. I love it. So how do we apply this? It really comes down to submission. Children, kids, teens submit to your parents because that's what's right in the Lord. You listen to your parents. You honor them. That's your job description, whether you like it or not. They have your best interest in mind. If you have godly parents, they're trying to make the best decisions they can. As I sat studying for this week, I can assure you I spent some time in tears. Do the best I can to get through this. I didn't do everything right with my kids. I'm not a perfect dad. It's okay to tell your kids that. They need to hear that. I want you to know that through all of this, spent some time praying, and God is so good. He's a perfect dad. And he picks up where we fail. He shows up in the areas that I let slip through the cracks, or that maybe I should have done a better job. Because I had a conversation with my son last night. And I put work ahead of my kids oftentimes. I was a workaholic. My name's Jason. I'm a workaholic. But evidently, God showed up in my son's life before him, and he had already reconciled that. Because as I talked to him last night, he says, I know your heart behind it. I know what you were trying to do. We're good. I don't sweat from my eyes too much. But that'll get me there. I love my kids more than anything. I hope you are the same. I hope you love your grandkids more than anything. They're worth it. God's gift to us. And you know what? When we're not perfect, and praise God, He is. And He'll fix those things. We have to continue doing the best that we can. The number one thing Paul warns us here, don't provoke them. Do the best that you can. Do what you can in your power. Be obedient to God where you can. And allow God to do the rest. Parents, I will say this. It's a battle that Satan will not stop. And as we get closer and closer to the spiritual armor, which I promise you we will get there, if we get there, maybe even yet this year, we need to understand all of these things, all these relationships that Paul is talking about here, all of this is based on the fact you're going to have to protect this, armor up. Because Satan is not stopping. He's coming after your family, he's coming after you, and the attack will be intense. We need to be ready for that. So parents, I would encourage you, as it says in Proverbs, train up your child. Train them up when they're young. Not necessarily perfectly, but train them up. Next week we'll look at that in the instruction side of things. This morning here, as we close out, maybe you do not have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Maybe you don't know what it's like to have the Father's love, spiritually speaking. Spiritually speaking. Are you wanting? Is there a void in you that you've never felt deep love? No human dad or mom can give you the perfect kind of love, but God can. And He wants to. It's His desire to do that. He wants nothing more than to have that relationship with you. You have to choose that. As we consider that here, or as you consider that here this morning, if you have any questions about that, it's the most important decision you'll make in this life. You could have had the most horrible parents on the planet, but God still loves you. He still wants that relationship. Brent, hi. Would you mind closing us in prayer this morning, sir? Before you all leave here, deacons, could you come up here just a second? And can I get Brian and Amanda up here real quick?